Humans are emotionally confusing creatures because sometimes someone leaves your life and suddenly you miss them deeply, even though, while they were actually around, they annoyed you constantly. You complained about them, muted their notifications, avoided their calls, mentally prepared yourself before hanging out with them. And yet the second they disappear, your brain suddenly acts like you lost a soulmate. Why? Why do humans miss people they weren't even fully happy around?
Mm.
Because the human brain doesn't just get attached to people, it gets attached to familiarity, and that changes everything. Humans fear change more than misery. The human brain prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar uncertainty. That's deep evolutionary behavior. Ancient humans survived through predictability. Familiar people meant safety, routine, stability, social belonging. So even frustrating relationships can become emotionally comfortable over time. Your brain starts treating that person like part of the environment, like furniture with opinions, which means when they disappear, your nervous system notices the absence immediately. Your brain edits memories like a movie trailer. Humans don't remember relationships accurately. Your brain edits memories emotionally. After people leave, the brain often removes the awkwardness, the irritation, the emotional exhaustion, the annoying habits, and keeps the laughter, the comfort, the familiar moments, the emotional warmth. Basically, your brain creates a greatest hits compilation after somebody's gone. That's why people suddenly romanticize relationships they were literally complaining about 2 weeks earlier. Loneliness distorts everything. Humans are deeply social creatures. Even difficult connections can feel emotionally important simply because they reduce loneliness. And modern humans are lonelier than they admit. So when someone disappears, your brain doesn't just lose the person, it loses routine, attention, interaction, emotional stimulation, and the comforting feeling that somebody was there. That emptiness feels huge psychologically, even if the relationship itself wasn't perfect. Humans get addicted to familiar emotional patterns. People don't only attach to individuals, they attach to emotional patterns. The good morning texts, the jokes, the arguments, the reactions, the tiny habits. Human brains love repetition. That's why breakups feel so disorienting. Your entire emotional rhythm suddenly disappears. Even toxic relationships can become psychologically addictive because the brain gets used to the pattern, which is terrifying, honestly. Missing someone doesn't always mean they were good for you. Humans often confuse attachment with compatibility. Just because someone became emotionally familiar doesn't mean they were healthy for you. But the brain doesn't care initially. The brain mainly notices interruption. That's why people sometimes return to relationships they know were exhausting. Not because the relationship was amazing, but because uncertainty feels scarier than familiarity. Social media made this worse. Ancient humans had one advantage. When people disappeared, they disappeared. Modern humans, now you can continue haunting each other digitally forever. Stories, photos, online status, random reposts, accidental likes at 1:13 a.m. The human brain never gets clean emotional distance anymore, so attachment stretches unnaturally long. You're not fully moving on emotionally, because part of the person still exists inside your phone permanently. Humans miss versions of people too. Sometimes humans don't even miss the actual person. They miss who the person used to be, who they hoped they'd become, or who they became inside imagination. That's the truly painful part. The brain forms emotional relationships with possibilities too, not just reality, which means sometimes heartbreak is actually grief for a future that never happened. Humans can miss people and still know reconnecting would be a terrible idea. That's how emotionally complicated attachment became. Your logic says, absolutely not. Meanwhile, your nervous system says, but familiar though. Human evolution really gave the brain two completely different operating systems and hoped for the best. Maybe that's why moving on feels so strange. Not because humans are weak, but because the brain quietly builds emotional homes inside routines, habits, and familiar people. And when those people disappear, the brain keeps reaching for them automatically, like touching a light switch in the dark even after moving to a different house. Eventually, the feeling fades, not because the memories vanish, but because humans slowly learn how to exist without expecting that person to still be there. And honestly, that silent adjustment process might be one of the most painful and most human experiences we ever go through.